All right, everybody. Hey, guess what? I know this is a day early, but this is a unusual circumstance as far as I know. Ed has asked that I do a little produce a show for Michael C. School and his friends. Today is Friday, July 27th, 2018. This show does not have a title yet, so we're just going to call it Schooled. So I'm going to hand everything over to Ed real quick and let him get things going and rolling.
Okay. Well, I'd like to thank everybody for joining us tonight. This is a great pleasure. It's all about proper education compared to what we get out in the general public or what you get in your local news. And the main point on this is comprehending the separation of lawful and legal, the 1917 Trading with the Enemy Act, and comprehending what goes on in our corporation system from the United States to apparently Canada too. And the United States is separate because we have a constitution, but we have international law dealing with trade and that type of stuff, just similar to what Canada has. And Canada wants to get, I presume, their constitution authority back that they once had. And so that way Canada is not a democracy under Trudeau anymore. So with that, I want to thank everybody for joining us. I'm going to sit in the background until a little later. I'm going to turn the floor over to Mike, and then we're going to go from there. Anyhow, everybody be respectful, and this is the whole point about educating each other from one side of one state or even a border. All right, go ahead, Mike.
Me, Ed?
Yeah, go ahead, Mike.
Oh, I got somebody here on the side that was talking to me, so somebody said you guys were calling for me, but I wasn't hearing what was going on.
Oh, okay. I did a little introduction. We're going to let you do the introduction, and then we're going to let you run the floor.
Okay.
So anyhow, the board's got it. I'm going to mute myself. Go ahead, Mike. So, Mike, you there?
I'm here. The guest speaker for tonight, Christopher, hasn't called in yet.
Yeah, we know that. But let's go ahead and what we were talking about last night, and let's go forward until he calls in.
I'm Mike. Mike School, Citizens Action Network. The website is citizensactionnetwork.info. I'm here with Rich Manders down in Georgia. We've been talking about putting some stuff together because my website I've got chat working, but Messenger isn't open yet, and we don't have email going yet. But the idea behind the website was to create a social media activist website with all the tools to teach activists and empower them how to use the law to fight their cause. And I think there's a lot of potential with it. And the idea was to get a lot of people on the conference call and start moving forward with the project. And we invited Christopher and Stefan, the guest speakers from last night, to speak again tonight because they've gone into so much detail and depth on the birth certificates that a lot of people are missing. Because I've heard that there are 2 parts to it, but these guys said there's 3, and there's 7 authentications that go with it. So I'm fascinated with everything I was hearing last night. And I'd like to move it forward as much as I can.
You're breaking up for some reason.
Oh, sorry, I don't know.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
But what we were wanting to do is put together the birth certificate process and go through that with everybody, so we all have the same documents, and we can hammer this process out and start trying to knock these processes out completely one at a time as a group.
Mm-hmm. And then you are aware that there's another document going around dealing with filing against the treasurer, dealing with having them certify that you owe nothing, and that's been certified and classified and coming out of Texas.
And it's already a complete process?
Yeah, it's being done. I've done it, and I've got more envelopes that I'm going to be mailing pretty soon because they take a while for them to respond. but there are men and women who've actually got it from them saying that taxes are voluntary completely, including property taxes. So once they've got that letter certified by the comptroller, that way they're out of that part of the system, if that makes sense.
No, that's awesome.
So, I mean, and that's the whole point. We've got people now we're putting together to start making these processes happen, because all these other people have gone out and put so many people in jail, and you know what I'm talking about because we've been dealing with that ourselves. And it's scary because, you know, it's very frustrating because everybody goes off on these tangents, and the thing is that you have to prove you're the injured party, man and woman. Just because a public employee called you a bad name, that's not a lawsuit.
No.
You know, so, but you know what, yeah, I'm going to put the floor back to you. I'm sorry, Mike. Go ahead.
Sorry, I didn't hear you, Ed.
I'm putting the floor back to you. Go ahead. I didn't mean to cut in so much.
No, that's fine. Go ahead. Rich said that Christopher's calling in right now.
Oh, good, good.
Or did he already call in? But with what there's more than one road that leads to Rome. And it's, so I'm glad that there's more. I'm glad to hear that somebody in Texas has perfected this too and gotten somewhere with it. Because in California, I've been trying to get the birth certificates, the different parts to it, and I've been running into obstacles. And the state of Michigan told me they only offer the short form.
Mm-hmm.
So I still have to try to figure out how to get the rest of the paperwork from the state of Michigan for me. But so with the overall CAN group, what we were trying to do is get one person in each state to form a group and start moving a group forward and learning the law and coordinating things. And then we also have people on almost every continent around the world now. So what we're working on is I'm having all the international administrators help me revise the mission statement of the website to reflect a global view instead of just the U.S. political view. And I think that'll help a lot too, because every month now there's more and more people coming out of the woodwork that want to help, and they have no idea where to start. So we're trying to be the place to start.
Mm-hmm. And give them lawful education instead of what a lot of people have been out there putting the education out that's putting people in jail.
Yeah. Well, I had a local success recently in a major felony case, and I got it dismissed after the attorney quit, which was really interesting. So the paperwork processes do work.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe we talk a little bit tonight, too, about the death certificate and how that actually contains part of the birth certificate as well. And looking forward to hearing you guys. And I'm going to mute.
Well, Mike, you want to open it up and let her speak on that one? Because I know that me and Dave filed on a birth certificate bond that we never got a response back from.
Yes. Kelly, you have the floor.
Okay, so my question is, since I'm really new to this, but I did do a little research in 2012, and I got a couple of relatives' death certificates in the city and county of San Francisco, and I noticed that it contains the birth certificate, and then I recently learned that my father passed away, and I'm wondering if there is a process for keeping the family trust within the family and how to do it.
You got a response to that one, Mike?
No, sir. Can I just interrupt and tell everybody that Christopher's in the house?
Okay.
Welcome aboard, Christopher. Good evening, everyone. I want to apologize for yesterday's phone dying on me.
No problem. We're going to let the floor be turned over to you, Christopher, and go run with it.
Hey, this time, can we do some introductions with everybody before we start?
Absolutely.
Maybe start with you, Eddie.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm Ed. I'm on New Oregon Trackers, and I've been around in this circumstances for many years and working on proper education. And so that's the best I can say. Go ahead. Oh, plus we have YouTube, Oregon Trackers on YouTube.
Beautiful. I checked out your site quickly.
So you can see what I'm talking about is real.
Most definitely.
Okay, go ahead.
A lot of people think it's myth, eh?
Mm-hmm.
And that's what we want to. We want to get past the myths, and we want to go straight to the truth, so that we can move forward, as opposed to remaining Flintstones in our universe that none of us really know about. Who else is on the line today?
We got quite a few people on the line, so I don't know who's directly on the line myself.
I heard Dr. Kelly.
Okay, I'll pop in. This is Dr. Kelly with a Y, REUSS, and I've started the Grand Jury Reawakening radio show, and I promote the Citizens Action Network and the website citizensactionnetwork.info, and my show is Saturday morning, 10 a.m. Pacific, on republicbroadcasting.org. I've got a public voicemail for private questions, 530 area code 402-7007, and can be reached by mail at P.O. Box 1624, Kings Beach, California, 96143. And I formerly served on the Nevada County, California grand jury from 2012 to 2015.
Beautiful.
Okay, anybody else want to introduce themselves before we let this gentleman speak?
I'm Rich, and just down in Georgia, putting it all together.
Rich is Citizens Action Network, Georgia.
I'll be covering the Georgia zone, the southern zone.
Gotcha. Anybody else would like to add something? Okay, not at this point, so we'll turn the floor over to the speaker and let him go for it.
Great. Well, I'll introduce myself. My name's Chris, and all I can say is I got into studying the law after having some confrontations and some problems with the law. Nothing ever criminal, which is why I had to seek answers for why things were the way they were. And along my journey, my mind was blown. I realized we're all being played with like little babies. Everything's hidden from us. Nobody has answers for anything. I don't even think the lawyers have answers for anybody, because I think they're all coming out of school the same as we're coming out of public school. But they just have a little bit more knowledge. But what I would like to focus on today is I'd like to just go through the process, and if there's any questions after, feel free to shoot them. So I am from Canada, Canada Corp. Same land mass as you guys. I've been studying this for about 5 years, and I recently, I know, found the gateway. And the computer system they use down here in Canada is called the TerraView. It's an electronic registration database, and they call it the gateway. And we know that lawyers are acting as guardians of that gateway. Whether or not they know what they're protecting, I'm not sure if they know. So I'd like to start off by simply the ordering of the proper documents. Yesterday we got into it a little bit on how a majority of us, we all have the short form certificate that our parents handed off to us when we turned 18 and moved out of the house. Not too many people were aware of the live birth certificate. Some are. Due to traveling purposes, when you get a passport, a majority of them ask for that certificate. I didn't know about it for a while. And after I ordered my documents and I seen them and they came in, my first thought when they came to me was money. So that kind of, gets the brain spinning. We all know that they all have the banknote company on the bottom. And from there, just piece by piece, putting this together, there was no set process I took at this. I studied many things, and whenever I went and studied a new subject, it seemed to tie all the other ones into it. Kind of like a synchronicity type deal. It's been a tough go. I guess I went hard at it. I was very confrontational with people when I found this out. I didn't have a problem going to a law office and asking questions, but no one could ever give me any. It was always a hush-hush. So every time I asked a question and I got no answer, it forced me to have to go find the answers for myself.
If I may.
Go ahead.
Last night when you guys were talking about attorneys, is there an attorney, like a specialty field that we should be looking for? Because the state bar refers every kind of attorney. So I was thinking about that maybe if I knew what kind of attorney, I'd ask them and see if they covered that area.
Yeah. Real estate. A real estate attorney. A real estate lawyer. Can I just read you guys a letter here that I received from the legal department in the land titles office?
Let it rip.
Yeah, do that, but also too, I want to add into when he's talking about the land trust, that goes on the birth certificate. But go read your letter. Thank you.
Okay. So this is I received this letter after I made my deposit at the land registry office, before I knew fully what I was missing. All trial and error, taking jabs, and just seeking and finding. And along this path, one of the main things you're going to want is a good memory, because there's a lot of information, a lot of people sharing the same information, a lot of people putting their own opinions in on the information, which can kind of lead astray, or lead everybody down a path, and all of a sudden you're just kind of at a brick wall. But let's just get back to it. This is the letter I received. I received this letter from the legal and technical officer and the officer of the director of titles. And this letter states, it's regarding documents received. I am the legal and technical officer in the office of director of titles. I'm writing to you in response to your letter to the director of titles dated April 17th, 2018. We acknowledge receipt of the documents from you, originally delivered to the Land Registry Office in Woodstock, Ontario, on March 6th, 7th, and 16th of 2018. collectively the documents. Please note, while we have made and retained photocopies of these documents and have returned all the originals to you, none of the documents are of a nature or in a form that can be registered in the land registration system. If you wish to consider formal registration of the documents, you should consult a real estate lawyer who can advise you on what types of documents can be registered in the system and how they are to be electronically registered. And this last paragraph just kills me. If you have any further documents that you wish to leave with us, kindly send them directly to our offices in Toronto. Photocopies, scans, and electronic delivery via email are both acceptable and indeed preferred. See letterhead for mailing address and the email address. Please do not deliver them physically to the Woodstock Land Registry office. Yours truly, Legal and Technical Officer. So that's the letter I had written after I'd made my deposit of my notarial copies to the Land Registry office here in Woodstock. And what I did was what it's considered as an over-the-counter submission. So after I'd received this letter, the one word that kept popping out to me is the word form. Now, we all know that you need forms to build a foundation. Because what we're dealing with here is nothing more than metaphysical civil engineering. So you're going to build a house in your head, but you're not going to see it.
And that's the one thing about, not to interrupt you, but about the letter there, and people need to comprehend, that's what we're all doing right now.
Yep.
And that's like with your newborn child. When you claim and own your bloodline, you do this stuff, then you are claiming that you have rights, not privileges.
Yes.
And so, I didn't want to interrupt you on that one, but I wanted to clarify that for people because, see, you're from another territory compared to what we're living down here,
yes.
And we're doing the similar things. But you're still under one regulation, and we're under, a constitution right of supposed to be passage, I guess. So let me turn the floor back to you.
Rite of passage could also mean age majority.
Yes, but that has to go by generations.
And what do you mean by that?
Well, see, it's like the Supreme Court said, and the Senate Council did when they passed the administrative rule in 1914, where everybody goes with the slavery law and all this stuff. They actually separated the lawful bloodline Americans of the original Constitution going back to 1770, when they were putting all this stuff together, and before the paper went through dealing with, I'll come up with it here in a minute, but dealing with, the court said bluntly, you have to prove that you're 5 or more generations on this soil, and that was back in 1887. Mm-hmm. And that goes back to the original foundation of our, what do we call that, Immigration Act, that we're able to ban certain races, I guess some people would say, like Muslims, because of their religious belief, but we don't want religion here. We want rights and freedom. We don't want religion. We don't care about people's opinion of some book or some thought. Does that make sense?
Most definitely.
So that's where I'm coming from. And this is a blessing that we've got here, working with both sides, because you're doing something in the international commerce side compared to what we're doing. And we got a lot of people in our country there going to say, we need to do it on the commerce side. And it's like, you do it on the commerce side, you're giving up your rights as a bloodline American compared to United States Citizen Incorporated. Does that make sense?
Well, I'm doing both sides. You got to remember there's two sides. There's land and there's sea. The sea is commerce and the land is the common law.
Right, but remember, Canadian used to have their own constitution compared they went to democracy. You know what I mean?
A little bit.
Okay. Well, your country had a constitution before you guys went to democracy, and when you guys went to democracy, we're living that living hell, and that's basically what living under Nazi Germany is about.
Yeah.
So go ahead.
Basically, we're living in hell because we've neglected our work.
Well, our forefathers didn't pay attention to things because everybody's going, we need jobs to survive instead of eating off the land like we used to.
Yeah.
If you know what I mean.
Yeah,
and that's the one thing that people don't get.
We gave up growing food and sharing it with each other to the grocery store.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, now we let commercial code run us completely from, international law to the streets that, it's like today if a kid in my country sells lemonade without a permit, sometimes you'll have cops go arrest them and harass them. And city ordinances have passed administrative rules if they don't get a permit, the kids should go to jail. It's like, are these people that mentally retarded?
I say yes.
Yeah, but so anyhow, I don't want to get off on the direction here. Go back to what you were saying.
So yeah, just like that letter, we're back to that letter. The word that kept popping out to me was the word form. So he said it's not in the nature or form that can be registered in the land title system, and then he says consider formal registration. So I then started seeking a form. And I just want to kind of tell you guys, I don't know how information comes to me. Sometimes it's there. It just seems to appear. I can't answer why or how. I don't know. It's being sent to me. So then I ended up getting this, a book. It's called Document Registration Guidelines. And I started reading through this book, and it was telling me about all the forms that are used. Not only that, but it told me about the birth certificate, death certificate, and everything. And so I just, had to redo. That's basically what I'm doing right now is, I don't think they wanted me doing a public appearance. And they wanted me to stay private by not physically going to the land registry office. And I don't think they wanted any of their clerks to know what I was doing at all either.
Well, the other point, why don't you bring up how you're registering with Washington, D.C.?
Okay. So I sent not only my documents to the Canadian Embassy in Washington, D.C., because it's the consular, but I also sent my documents to the Secretary of State in Washington, D.C. as well. Now, I sent them to her due to the fact that Canada is part of the Union. And in some of these books I have, it says that the Secretary of State is my final office of certification in the chain of command. And I also have a couple friends who had done it from here in Canada, and when they showed me, my mind was blown. I didn't really understand why they'd send their documents there, but after they told me, and I knew about the Articles of Confederation, and it states Canada was part of the Union, and they get to benefit from being part of that Union. So that was new to me. That is very recently new to me. So my documents are actually on their way back right now from the Secretary of State.
I would like to add something to that point. That goes back to the native people that were on this soil prior to any of the corporations existing. Mm-hmm. It went from basically Florida to Canada, and that's a native structure that's been filed, and that's part of the original treaties if you read them. So go ahead.
So that was a surprise to me. So I have it done. They're on their way back, and when they come back, I'm going to be making a resubmission of my documents, along with the proper form that is to accompany my filing in the registry division, not the land titles division.
Yeah, and let everybody know a title is a privilege, not a owner of assets of property.
Say that again.
A title is a privilege, could be in the owner of the property, or the soil, or your car, your toys, or whatever.
Title is something you work for.
Title is a privilege.
Yeah, it's not a right.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's where a lot of people may get upset about that. But to me, I think you get what you work for. Doctors go to school, they come out with the title doctor. Lawyers go to school, they come out with the title lawyer.
Mm-hmm.
They worked for it. It took me work to start my business.
Mm-hmm.
So I look at it no different. I look at this no different.
No, I do look at it differently because I've had businesses, but I've never registered, paid the privilege, or had city permission.
And that would be the difference between a public and a private.
Right. No, I know that, but I just want to clarify that way, because that way when I owned my business, I couldn't advertise in the newspapers. I couldn't go public on the other side and advertise on it because I wasn't paying their administration fees of that circumstances of what they call international law that went through in 1963. So go ahead.
So what I'm dealing with is making sense of everything. There is a lot of information, and I think I've gathered up all the information that one could need to pursue this task of, changing your life. I look at it as changing your life, but it takes work, and you can only get what you work for. Like children, they see something and they want it now. A lot of the reason why we're all scrambling, I think, here is because of the money issue. To me, the only problem and that we all have in common is finances.
Mm-hmm. And then I go back to the 1912 treaty with the Pope and King John, and then the Magna Carta of 1215.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
But
are you familiar with that structure?
So after receiving that letter and them basically telling me what to do, I read the letter more than 50 times. And each time I read the letter, more consciousness, more awareness. And basically he told me what to do in the letter. Go see a real estate lawyer and have them electronically file them. So I started looking into the electronic filings, and I have some of the books here that the ministry puts out on electronic filing, and it strictly states that the lawyers are the only ones that can access the system because they're authorized by the director, and they're also licensees of this Terranet e-reg system. So I started seeking lawyers to see if, they could help me with getting this all registered electronically. I contacted a couple lawyers. I had one lawyer who was the notary who had notarized my documents. And the moment I walked in his office, I swear his heart fell out of his ass. He turned. He got really upset. He told me to go to a bigger law firm, that he didn't have time for this. So I left. I left peacefully. But I left and came home, and I was angry. And because they're hiding something from you. And being this far and having studied, couldn't figure out why. So 4 lawyers later, I think I'm moving forward now. But,
Can I ask a question?
yeah, go ahead.
Have you ever thought about finding a third-year law student?
No. And why? Why a third year?
Being that they're in their final year and maybe have, kept their integrity if they had it in the first place or gained it along the way?
Mm-hmm. I never thought of that. But I'm thinking about it now. But the way I look at it is they all have the same brainwashing of money as we all do. And then when they pay large amounts to go to school, I think they're looking just to pay off those school bills.
Well, it's the same thing that preachers do or anybody else that goes through any program like anything that they do.
Yeah.
Carpenters, plumbers.
Yeah. You go to school, you come out with the knowledge, but you still are attached to this money system.
Well, see, one thing is that will bring up attention. I used to be an auto mechanic, and I learned from a lot of the elders instead of the schools. Mm-hmm. And I had the opportunity back in the 1980s to go to Arizona Institute to learn how to be an instructor for the school. And actually, they were going to pay all my way, my room, board, everything, because I was able to prove that I had a free-thinking mind on mechanics compared to a program mind that most people have today, that if they don't have a computer, they couldn't think about how to diagnose a vehicle or a covered wagon, horseless carriage, as I call it. So these things are the things that we look at. So go ahead. I'm sorry. I just thrown that in.
So my journey right now is I'm looking to get these electronically registered. 2 years ago I had tried this actually, after I had first gone to see the notary. After I got done seeing the notary, I started trying to get my documents into the court, into the land titles office. I was basically trying to put them everywhere. Just going at it, right? So here I am 2 years later, and I find the law of what I was attempting to do. And all the law I find seems to just say notarized documents. And having gone and done the authentications, it just doesn't make sense to me anymore.
If I may.
Yep.
Well, here in the United States, there's codes and laws about if the clerk doesn't accept filings, because it's probably something similar in Canada, maybe, that you're dealing with a clerk and there's a way to overcome it with the law.
Well, it's like I like to add one thing into it, because the other point is, see, I filed all my stuff, and I ran a newspaper ad for 4 weeks, and I ran it on 3 full pages of the newspaper of my rights, my structure, and not only was it certified and classified, it was filed and certified in the Oregon State House and Senate.
I did the same thing. I filed and put an ad in the paper as well, letting everybody know that I was the owner of this property.
Yeah, but the only thing that I can think of back in your structure is going back to the original Constitution of Canada that gave you rights instead of when they changed it to democracy, and that was from the union structure that happened when they combined with the Canada, Britain, and the foreign union, the European Union.
Because here we have what's known as security of the person, and that falls under Section 7 of our charter, which is part of the Constitution, and it's under the heading of legal rights.
Right, and we have it where if you are sovereign or lawful bloodline American versus a citizen, and that's basically what you're saying as a person, as a citizen.
Yeah.
We have different rights, and that's the point that people are not gathering that on our side up here, that they're not getting that. We actually have rights, not privileges.
Exactly. We all trade our rights in for privileges. Not knowing, because we're told by adults.
Most of them don't know.
What people tell us.
And
you need a license. You need this. You need that. Okay. Well, I'm not going to second guess it. It looks like everybody else around here is doing it, so I might as well do it too. I was never one of those people, though.
If I may.
Yeah, go ahead, Mike.
Chris,
yes.
One of the obstacles I found down here in the United States using the notary is that attorneys use, a loophole they use against us is that we don't have, when we certified mail things to the courts, that we don't have any way to describe our documents and prove what we sent. So they use that as a loophole to deny our cases and throw our evidence out. So I've been using this notary proof of service by mail form that describes all the documents. And I was wondering if that would apply in your case, because then if you certified mail the documents to the agent and they reject it, then you have a record that they've received it.
Yes. I use registered mail a lot. I know what you're talking about with the notary, how they basically send it out for you with that list. This is where it all comes back to the electronic registration. Is there to submit them anyway for you, because they're trustees. It's not my job to be doing this. I was endowed with authenticating the documents to make sure that they were genuine, to make sure that I was the rightful holder of the documents. That's as far as it goes for me. I tried doing all the work myself, and I just get shut down. And coming to realization, having reading all this, it's their job, and it's what they're trying to get out of. And just like any insurance company, they don't want liability. So they try to do anything to get out of working for you, because that is their only job. This whole legal system is based on the birth certificate. There would be no legal system if we did not have these certificates.
That's correct.
It wouldn't exist. So the only reason that the law society exists is because of their creation of this fictitious entity that they've created.
Yeah, don't forget that was created by the churches.
It was.
You know, it is frustrating. We're living that today, you know, being so confused and whacked out instead of, you know, taking care of our friends and neighbors. You know, everybody's got their back turned, so that way it's all about themselves. If they don't survive, they don't live. And that's the way it's sad, because like I said, I just spent 6 days literally on life support just, 13 days ago. And it was like I went through that, and they come in the hospital when I'm on life support, and we want you to sign this form, we want you to sign that form, and I'm like, I can't sign these forms. I'm under duress. Well, if you want to try to sue us, or if you want to deal with this with the medical issues or stuff, we want you to sign these forms. I said, I can't sign these forms. I'm under duress. And I didn't have no paperwork when I went in the hospital. I had no paperwork when I left the hospital. So, you know, just throwing that out. You know, they know it. They have it. It's already programmed.
Yeah. The whole system was created by them. They've had a lot of time to perfect it. And the people that work for all these places that they create, they don't know. They just get told what to do, and they do their job. Now, if all of us knew this information, we would probably treat each other a little different. But the fact no one knows their rights, how are you going to respect my rights if you don't know your own?
Mm-hmm.
We're a sick civilization. And not naturally sick, but we are all juridically and juristically sick because we have no knowledge of the unseen. And it's the unseen that is beating us up. And you can call that the spiritual realm. You can call it the legal realm. But it's due to lack of knowledge that we're dying. We don't know what food to put in our bodies.
Well, as the other people would say, the shadow knows.
Yeah. But I have some great things here that I would just like to read real quick, and maybe we can talk about. We will talk about this. But these are the things that I found that solidified what I was doing. Does everybody have computer access? Because I think it would be better if we all could bring up the same thing and look at the documents together.
Yes, and someone please print or fax me a copy later, and thanks.
Yeah, Rich was saying that you don't do internet. Or email. I couldn't email you, right?
I finally quit.
I want to too. That's why I want to get this done and get out of here. Because like Mike was saying, once you're aware of that invisible Wi-Fi, you don't want to be in it anymore. Once you're aware of something, when I'm aware of something, my mind goes nuts.
Yeah, it's a protective mechanism that's built in.
Yeah. And that's what they've sheltered us from, right? And that makes it easy for attack.
Right.
It's not dropping bombs. It's not showing up to your house and putting an AK in your face. No. It's putting up cell towers. It's putting Wi-Fi in your home.
Yeah, and then you wonder, how come I don't have my sense of well-being?
Exactly.
And the awareness and the knowledge of who I am and what I'm supposed to be doing.
Yeah. And that's what we're all trying to seek. Because I'm tired of it. I'm tired of everything. Every time I look, it's just, people fighting people. Cops just thinking they could do whatever they want because they were given a gun and a badge.
Yeah, what's the emergency, officer? How can I help you? Yep.
Yeah, and they're not working for you.
And do you have a business card?
Not on me. They never seem to have them on them.
No, that's how you show that the peace officer, was out of uniform and creating a vacancy of office.
Yeah. And to be honest, I think they are the one group of people that we need to focus on educating. Because
and that's the duty of the grand jury, to be the watchdog of the watch.
Yeah. They have the power to go and arrest these people. But what they don't have are facts to back them up to do their job properly. They're looking at us because they have the same mindset as all of us. You need a license. You can't do this. You can't do that. Because they're the same as us. They have the same mindset as us. They think they're doing right because this has been going on forever. And we all just want to go to war. Nobody wants to be peaceful. No one wants to. I try reaching out to them all the time. Anytime I've had that type of presence around, I've always said, come back in your private capacity. We can talk. I've never had any of them show up to my house and say, hey, man, what are you talking about? I've had conversations with them where, they kind of see what's going on, but they're still blind. And I just want to, my main thing is we just need to educate. And the best thing to do is by one of us getting this done, helping others, and just organization. Just like every other business organizes, you can take a company, an entity name, and hire a whole bunch of strangers who don't know each other, but they'll come together to work for a common good and get the job done. Why can't humanity do the same thing? And another thing I think about, too, is if we all had knowledge of bills of exchange and all this financial stuff, these businesses would be prospering more. Because more people would be able to buy product. More people would be able to live. But you can see that there is a group of people who don't want that. Because then we're controlled.
Yeah, well, anyhow, let me interrupt you a minute. Mike has something he wanted to say. Go ahead, Mike.
What I was wondering is here we have the war flag of the corporation with its fringe, and then we have the civil peace flag. Does Canada have a peace flag and a war flag? Is there a difference?
I do think we do have a gold fringe flag.
A.
And we have the normal flag. I'm pretty sure we do.
Well, if you could research that and find it out so we could make sure that it gets up.
Yeah, I'll Google that right now.
The reason I mention it is because here in the United States we have a military. We're under a military rule. You're probably under military rule too, as all nations that have military probably are. But if you're a non-combatant, they don't have jurisdiction over you.
Exactly. And they only get jurisdiction when you give it to them.
But the law of the flag governs the contract. So if you're not flying the civil flag, you're de facto. I put the civil flag on all my documents that I have notarized, and I certified mail them with the notary proof of service. So I get a lot of things in the record just for that reason. But we have an Army. It's called an Army Sworn Statement. It's an affidavit you can use. And in box 7, if you use this form, you can type in, I type in de jure civilian non-combatant, where it says grade, because I'm not in the military, so I'm not a sergeant like they want, but it has its uses, and other people are using this for the same thing. So there has to, I mean, if all nations run an admiralty, then all we have to do is discover the differences in the codes and the labels between us.
Yeah. Because that's the merchant. I see it as the merchant, because they're all merchant courts, right? Because we're dealing with, that's all we're dealing with here. We got the common law and the civil law. Anybody familiar with Lex Mercatoria?
No.
The Lex Mercatoria is the custom of law merchant.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so that basically is what's governing all of that. And that's all I see is you got that common law and then you got the Lex Mercatoria. And because, like, because when it all comes down to it, I don't see anything bad. I just think we're all retarded. Because we have common law, civil law. But those two come together. Because when I do a common law contract, I need a civil law entity to enter into that contract. Is that understanding?
Mm-hmm.
So we need that entity to contract. All contracts are common law, but they're also civil law too because we're using these entities. And it's the point, we just don't know how to use that entity, right? We became it, which is what messed us up. But the moment you can separate yourself from it and understand that it's a tool to use in a contract, and as long as you enter the contract in the proper capacity, you're good. But before you can even use that name, you have to go through this notarization and authentication process, because this falls under the statute of uses or a statute of enrollments. So that's what is going on, is this: we don't have a right of use to these documents. And that's what we're trying to achieve. Because registration creation is not the same as registration use. And that's a real estate maxim. And it's the same as you go walk into a grocery store and you see all the gift certificates, all the gift cards. They're all register created, but the moment you go take one off the shelf, you got to come home and register use. Or you could just keep it in your back pocket and never use it, right? And then when you do go try to use it, you're going to get declined because you never registered the use of that certificate or that gift. Because what we've been given is basically we've been given a gift from Her Majesty. That's what our birth certificate is. It's a gift from the gods. Now we got our natural creator, and then we have our government god. And that government god only controls commerce. So if you're the person, then you're their property. The moment you get around this and you stand beside it as an authorized legal representative, using it, you're no longer their property.
If I may?
Yep.
A general question between Christopher and Ed is maybe another obstacle he's facing in Canada. That it doesn't sound like you formed a trust. Do you need to form a trust to deposit your titles, your land titles into?
No. You're going to form a trust at the bank. That's where the trust is created. And by depositing those documents in the registry. Because right now they don't have anything, right? Right now you're the trustee. This is why you're being dinged with everything.
Well, that's why I filed identity theft.
Yeah. We're committing identity theft.
No, they're committing identity theft by using your information. And I've already written it up with the laws.
Oh, no, it's not illegal for the one who created it to be charged with, or to be...
Actually, it is.
How? If
I
created something and I gave it to you...
Yeah, but see, the thing is, you gave it to me, so that means it's my property. It's my copyright authority. You don't have rights to use it again after that.
Yeah,
I
but
claim
have you ever seen
it.
the back of your bank card? It says...
I don't have a bank card.
Yeah, so your bank card says this is property of the bank.
Yeah, I don't have a bank card or any of that.
Yeah, you misused it. They're taking it. Right?
No, actually, they've done that to me, and I've filed on it. I'm dealing with that right now.
But I'll tell you guys, I've set my bank account up properly. I've done it. I have a deposit account set up for me, and I also have my 2 children. And me and my wife, my partner, we have basically a joint interest in those accounts. So basically, what I got to do now. Because you got to understand, you're a creditor. Now, we don't need to be making withdrawals at a bank. You're just going to be constantly making deposits. And then your trustees are going to take care of everything. So I went to the bank with my birth certificate, and I did this under the Canadian domestic bonds, the Domestic Bonds of Canada regulations. And there was a form. The bank's going to have a form, and the registry has a form. Now, before I can go to the bank, I need to make the deposit in the registry, and they provide me with a receipt stamp that proves that I have an interest in that property. Back in the old days, I can just read you some of this stuff here. They would take their deeds and deposit them in the bank. And they called it I think it was something about chimney. Back in the day, people would put their deeds and stuff in their chimney.
Excuse me, guys. I got to take off for a minute. I'll call back in a few minutes. I got an emergency call I have to really take. So I'll be back. Go ahead.
Talk to you later, Ed. Sometimes I get off topic and I'm just all over the place. But if any of you guys can somehow bring up on your computer, if you go into Google and you type in C-125 Custody of Documents Act by Ontario, it'll say Digital Commons.
And can I ask a question while they're looking that up?
Pardon?
Can I do a quick question while they're looking that up?
Most definitely.
I got one of those thoughts and ideas on how to link in the lack of capacity to being not of majority age when we were conned into signing, autographing, the Social Security forms, the taxation forms, the various like W-2s and things like that. Is there a way to go relinquish that, or is it part of the game that we have to play to, get out of Babylon?
Yeah, you want to keep it.
If I may.
Everything, like I said, I think yesterday, there's nothing evil, but man is evil, and he, to profit, kept this a secret. The documents themselves, just like saying, that gun's evil, or that chainsaw.
No, it's evil. The love of money as the root of all evil?
The bank note, right?
Breaker?
So if you understood bills of exchange and promissory notes, there's no way you could ever be robbed, ever. You could never be robbed. You would never be hungry. You would always have clothing, and you'd always have a house. Now, if I take that away from you and basically now your only money is the banknote system, and you have to go and do things for it, there's the evil, because people will do anything for that money. And this is what, it's just all knowledge, right? We all jumped into life. Get a job, Mom said. Just get a job, you know. But we all know what happened to Joby in the Bible, right? Joby lost everything.
If I may.
Yeah.
Chris, here in the United States, we have the IRS, Internal Revenue Service.
Yep.
Rich had a question. Could you please say again the website you wanted us to go look at?
Yes. So if you go on to Google and you type in C-125, Custody of Documents Act, and it's a PDF. And you could also add in there Osgood Digital Commons. Osgood is O-S-G-O-O-D-E, Digital Commons. And if you find that, just let me know, because I can always send links to Rich.
Okay. Yeah, he's looking it up right. He's looking it up. So since we have the IRS here, we have IRS Form 4506 where you can appoint a fiduciary. I was wondering if there's something in Canada that's similar like that, or have you looked into it?
I haven't done too much with the CRA because I don't think we're supposed to be doing any of that. Here we have what's known as the T3, which is the trust account and everything to do with that. But the documents I have, they come from the bank. And the bank is supposed to be issuing the T3 on income that was earned on the trust throughout the year.
We had a lady, one of the law librarians. She practiced in the federal courts, and she said that yes, they had to register as foreign agents. She confirmed that, but she also said that if you enter a birth certificate into a court case, they hate to see that and they never want to see it. So I did it, of course.
They didn't want to see it?
No, she said they never want to see a birth certificate entered into a court case.
I've never tried that. Because
well,
like when it all comes down, once you make these documents, you shouldn't have any documents in your hands, right? You should be free, like a free spirit, no attachments. You shouldn't have to walk around showing anybody these documents. So I'll read you something here. This is from the Registry Act here in Canada under Part 2 Deposits, and it's Section 110. So it says, deposit relieves from liability. The deposit of a document under this part shall be deemed of sufficient compliance with and fulfillment of any covenant or agreement entered into by any person to produce or allow the inspection of or the making of any copy of or extract from the document, and absolves any person liable for the production or custody thereof from any further liability in respect to such custody or production. So the moment that you properly deposit these documents, all liability has been lifted from me, and it's now been placed on the Director of Titles, where it's been registered. And if I go to court and the judge wants that document, he has to then contact the director directly, and he has to get it from him. You can't ask me for it. Right? We're looking to be light bodies. We don't want attachments. You want to be able to up and move. And basically what you have is we've all these attachments, right? Your house, your dog, your cat, your clothing, your pictures, your books, your papers, all this stuff, which is not, to me, it's garbage. And you should be able to move freely through this world, right? And that's the burden that's been placed on our shoulders, which is as heavy as a boulder when you're labeled a trustee and you don't even know what's going on. So, once these documents are deposited, all liability is lifted from you. And you should never end up in a court after this anyway. To me, you should know better. And not only that, but after they do make, I read right here actually, I just read it today. It says that after you make the deposit, that the land title director notifies the sheriff and lets him know. Right here, I'm just going to read this section here. The land registrar, on completion of registration in the name of the applicant or his nominee, is required to notify the proper sheriff unless the land is free, a grant, or otherwise exempt from execution. Now, this whole legal execution is only talking about paper. It's not talking about taking the prisoner and hanging him. It's not talking about the death sentence. It's talking about execution of paper. And now your police, because this is computerized, you got to understand you're living in the computer. And the police they're computer characters. They're security, right? And it's a weird concept to understand, but that's what's going on. So when they hear the word execution in that legal realm, they don't understand what they're talking about. Execution is always the execution of a document in front of a notary. Has nothing to do with hanging. And that's where we're all confused. These terms and these words, because we're not living in a common law. We are, but we're not. And they know it. So just picture a big map. Okay, roll out a big map. And on that map, instead of seeing Georgia or Canada or the U.S. and Russia, basically your name's on there. You know, it's all our juridical names on there, and that's the land they're controlling. They're not controlling the natural world. They're controlling their flat paper map that's got you labeled as a town. So jumping back, 1914. Rich, are you there?
I'm here.
Did you get that link that I sent you on your Facebook?
Yep. Uh-huh.
So if we open that up and we scroll down.
Where are we going?
Pardon?
Where are we going to? To 125?
The email, I just sent it to you.
Right.
Yeah, it's C125, and I have 3 different versions. All of them are the same. So it says, in this act, document shall include whatever is included in the word instrument as defined by the Registry Act, and also any certificate, affidavit, statutory declaration, or other proof as to the birth, baptism, marriage, divorce, death, burial, descendants, or pedigree of any person, or as to the existence or non-existence, happening or non-happening of any fact, event, or occurrence upon which the title to land may depend, and notices of sale or other notices necessary to the exercise of any power of sale or appointment or other power relating to land. 3. Any person having any document, forming or being a title deed or evidence or a muniment, whatever that word is, of title to land in Ontario, may deposit the same for safe custody in the office of the registrar of any registry division in which the document or duplicate or copy or memorial or certificate thereof has been registered, or where it does not appear by any endorsement thereon that the same or a duplicate or a copy or memorial or certificate thereof has been registered. The document may be so deposited in the office of the registrar of any registry division in which any land to which the same relates is situate. Now, this is what I found when this is how I knew I needed a form. So I had that letter that I received from the director, and he kept saying, formally register, formally. Then all of a sudden, I have this in my face. And number 4 says, upon every such deposit, the person depositing shall deliver to the registrar a requisition. Now, if you go look up that term requisition, it says it all. In duplicate, Form 1, which may include any number of documents, and the registrar shall sign a receipt upon one of the duplicates for the documents therein mentioned, and shall deliver the receipt to the person by whom the deposit was made. So I stick with 234. So that's how I figured out I needed a form. And that form, they titled it as a requisition.
If I may?
Yep.
Do you have I don't know how Canada is arranged. Here we have counties within the states. But do you have a county system, or do you have law libraries available? And if so, do they have here we have a set of volumes called Words and Phrases.
Yep. We do have counties here. Our law library is in the courthouse, and you're not allowed in it. It's not for the public. Go figure. Courthouse, public building, but asked to use the law library? Nope. No, they don't allow you into it. But I basically just found the law library on my own computer.
It sounds like a human rights violation to deny access to the law.
Most definitely. I had a cop.
Yeah, even the prisoners have the right to access to a law library.
Yeah. I had a police officer try telling me that if I didn't leave the courthouse, I'd be charged with trespassing. Yeah. I looked at him and laughed. He also pulled my papers out of my hand that I had. I'm telling you, these guys are cocky. But, when your master says jump, you better jump. So, yeah, the requisition. And let's read the definition of requisition. An official order laying claim to the use of property or materials. It's an order, a request, a call. It's an application, a claim, and a demand. As a verb, it's a demand, the use or the supply of, especially by official order and for military or public use. Commandeer, appropriate, occupy, seize, confiscate, expropriate. So that requisition we're using to attach to our documents is an official order laying claim to the use of property. So when I first made my submission, I was missing this. And I didn't, before I made my, before I made my deposit, I probably should have read the Registry Act before I went down there. But I never did. I didn't till I realized I made a mistake, and that's when I found all this. And I was kind of smacking myself in the head, telling myself, why didn't you read this before? But, you can't change things. And mistakes are good, right? The mistakes I've been making during this hasn't hurt nobody but cost me time and money. So that requisition is, and that's another thing there. You guys are going to maybe have to find a requisition form to use down there when you make your deposits.
Yeah, I'm always trying to get people to wake up and get their state's version of what I found in the California Constitution or the national one, because everybody's got similar stuff, because it can't be an abrogation of or deprivation or a breach or a violation of my rights.
Exactly. And I did the same thing here. I'm in Ontario, but I didn't just study Ontario law. I went to BC, Manitoba, Saskatchewan, Alberta, and every act I went into, they were giving me different nuggets. So I basically
and I love it when you request, like when you do a records request and they send you all these new government codes or civil codes or penal codes that you can use in the future.
Yeah. So I had made my deposits, and when I received that letter, that's when I had to really get searching, because
it's pretty cool. I went to Words and Phrases, and I'm looking up requisition right now.
Yep. And what does it say? I have 4 legal dictionaries here, and I couldn't find that word in any of them.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. There's about a column and a half of different case law. The first one is an appellate court in D.C. from 1942, and that has to do with the power to requisition private property for war purposes.
Lieber Code.
And then, and it is an essential attribute of sovereignty, and although broader than the peacetime power of eminent domain, in that it is not subject to constitutional inhibition against taking property without compensation. Exercise implies a contract to reimburse the owner. Fletcher v. Maupin.
Beautiful. Yeah, that requisition is the key.
Yeah, I couldn't find the merchant one. That's not in Words and Phrases. So I'm gonna have to look elsewhere.
Yeah. So I got a couple documents here. Like I said, I've gone through with a fine-tooth comb, cross-referencing, checking. I've studied American, trying to figure out that side. And even when I find the answer, I don't stop, because I need to find that answer in more than one place, or I don't feel confident in it. And there's just a lot of stuff out there. There's a lot of information, but the moment you zone in on what you're looking for, you can eradicate a lot of useless information. Because that's basically what I want to do.
Oh, this actually covers they used the word requisition when they stole the gold from the people here in 1933.
Really?
Yeah. Provisions of the executive order prohibiting every person after 30 days from date thereof from possessing or retaining any interest in any gold bullion in the United States, held not within the mandate of the statute authorizing President to investigate, regulate, or prohibit hoarding of gold, 12 USCA 248N.
And that's under the requisition?
Yeah, and then it goes on. Under the word requisition, yes.
Nice.
That's in Southern District of New York, 1933.
That's beautiful.
Boy, there was a lot of fraud going on in 1933. They abolished the grand jury in Great Britain in 1933 after having it since Magna Carta.
Yeah. Yeah, that word's beautiful. And just where, like, if you just go into many different places and try to look up that definite requisition, it just gets better and better and better and better.
Oh, yeah, here we go. Rhode Island, 1900. The word requisition in the statute is used in its literal sense of the act of requiring or demanding. Atwood v. Charlton, Charlton. And I have all the little numbers that go with it. But since it's Rhode Island, it should be easy to find.
What book are you reading this from?
Oh, this is Words and Phrases, Permanent Edition from 1658, Volume 37, that covers the words repay to res ipsa, as in res ipsa loquitur. The thing speaks for itself.
Now, Rich, are you there?
And that is on...
Sorry. Is Rich there? Mike? Is it just me and you, Dr. Kelly?
I don't know. I hope I didn't break everything.
Mike and Rich, are you there?
They are here. Well, at least Rich is. And I believe Mike's with them, with Rich. But
I'm here. I hit the wrong button.
No, there we go.
Rich, I seen on your Facebook the other day that you posted that book, Words and Phrases. Is that the same book Dr. Kelly's talking about?
Yes. I think she's got more up-to-date version.
Do you have that in a digital version?
No, it's not in a digital version. Only for attorneys.
I may have to go check the Google Books. So it's Words and Phrases.
How do you pronounce it?
Requisition.
Requisition.
Almost sounds like require.
Yep, it says require.
Yep.
Yep, demand.
I require my property back.
Demand application.
I require and demand and give notice that I want my property back.
And that's what it is. This is what it's constructive notice by making our deposits into that registry. That's what we're doing, is we're providing constructive notice. So I have here, I guess I can just, hey Rich, remember all that emails that I sent you? Those big collage of all those pictures? Are you able to get to that?
I think so. I was looking at them earlier. I went to a law library here at UGA today and took a bunch of cool pictures. So I was messing with them earlier, and but I've seen them in there, you know. But yep. Give me 1 second. Let me see if I can pull them up.
Yeah, these words and phrases are from 1658, and they're not, as sweet as Magna Carta from 1215, But the cool thing is it's got a whole bunch of case law, and so one of its nicknames is the 1 minute case law lookup. And so I'd like somebody to look up the case law that I looked up, and that Atwood v. Charlton 45 A as in Apple 580, comma 21 RI for Rhode Island 568.
Can you repeat that?
Sure. That's ATWOOD, Atwood v. or versus
Atwood.
Charlton, CHARLTON, and then the identifying numbers and letters 45A dot or period 580, comma 21 uppercase RI for Rhode Island, and then the number 568. And that should bring the case right up. And that was from Rhode Island in 1900. So you know it's good.
And it was Atwood?
And the interesting thing is there's nothing new in the pocket part from 2016. And eventually this set of pocket parts goes to Rich for his encyclopedias, and then I'll have 2017.
I need that book.
And so that's volume number 37, and there's about 150 in the whole collection, and I wanted to read through them in a year. Yeah, but like your buddy was saying, you know, you'll get a blinding, paralyzing, aphasic migraine if you read too much of this, you know, even the good stuff.
Yeah.
It's just heartbreaking.
And that book's called Words and Phrases?
Yeah, it's Words and Phrases, permanent edition from 1658 to date. So that's the year it was first published. Thank God for the Gutenberg printing press in 1642.
Yeah, there's so many amazing books. I have to get Rich to send you the list of my little private library to you to go and check out.
Oh, yeah, because I got a friend at my local law library, and we actually have access to a wonderful librarian who helped with the case for the prisoners' rights to have law library access here in the California Republic.
Beautiful. Yeah, that's
and
what everybody
about any
needs,
universities, right? Or, you know, how there's like the Royal Canadian Chiropractic College or something up there? What about law schools and students?
Yeah.
I mean, come on, kids.
If I may. Hey, Kelly. Doesn't Reno have a law? Doesn't Reno have a university with a law, like a law branch?
Oh, they got a judicial college over there as well. Yeah.
Yeah, they would.
The,
I would think
the
they
law
would
school is at UNLV. That's down in Las Vegas. But the judicial college is up here in Reno somewhere.
I've never gone searching for a law library.
Oh man, it's the greatest library, next to the church library.
Yeah. That was one of my...
because they got all the ancient text in there.
Yeah. That was something I wanted to create, because where I am, we don't have one. So I wanted to create one and fill it with all the books that I have.
I'm just going to hop in for a second and then I'll yield back. The nice thing about words and phrases is that it has broken down the written instruments into the sounding in the different divisions of law. Number 1 is people. Number 2 are properties. Number 3, contracts. Number 4, torts, crimes, government, and remedy.
Beautiful.
Yeah, that's so cool, because this was sort of like a strange parting gift from busting a judge on the docket minutes and the master tape recordings of the proceedings. My testimony was stricken from the record. I was there by special appearance, not subject to the jurisdiction of the court, for the defendant in error, Michael C. School, and his face got all red, and he said, "Are you an attorney?" I said, "I thank God every morning when I wake up that I'm not." And he said, "I order that testimony stricken from the record." And next thing I know, a few months later, they're like, "We have a present for you." I go, "What?" They're like, "We're getting rid of all our books." I said, "Why? This is the public law library." And then next thing I know, me and Mike are taking out a bunch of cartons of words and phrases, and I couldn't believe it. I mean, I couldn't feel the ground for 2 weeks when they told me that I was going to be getting that set of books. I was afraid to tell anybody. I couldn't believe it.
You were blessed.
But ask and you shall receive.
Exactly. You just need to know what you asked for. A lot of us don't know what to
Yeah,
ask
and be
for.
careful how you ask for it, too.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
Could get it in a violent way. Yeah, that word's a good word. And I'll show you. I'll be able to, I can connect this with everything.
Yeah, and as soon as you get your hands on one of these words and phrases, it gives you a whole section of the abbreviations, and it gives you a whole section where it breaks down those digest topics, so that under people, there's a whole section of the different types of abrogations, breaches, deprivations, and violations of rights under color of law, office, authority, and it just gets better from there.
It's never ending. I find it's never ending. And even when you think you got it, it's just like there's more. There's more. But the thing is I would like to get the process finished and then from there keep studying.
Yeah, I want to get to the middle of that gigantic jawbreaker.
I was talking to a girl tonight. She's from Massachusetts, I think. And we were talking about deposit, and she was talking about impoundment. That deposit down there is impoundment. Rich, I sent you a link on your messenger about that. It basically had the 2 words right in one paragraph. Did you get that?
I'm getting over there now. I had to run outside.
If you guys start looking up impoundment law, impoundment is the same as deposit. This is why they always impound your car.
In words and phrases under one of the digest topics, it says deposits and escrows.
Yep.
and then it says deposits in court.
Yep. And that's what she's doing right now in Chancery. She's in, I guess, one of the first private courts in Massachusetts right now, and she's going through Chancery under impoundment.
Hell.
Did you find that, Rich?
It's loading it up now.
Right on. Can you read that? It's just like them impounding your car, right? They took your property and impounded it.
Also, too, that's Grand Theft Auto.
Yeah, I've had that happen to me a couple times.
But you have to file it that way.
Mhm. I'll just go here. I'll show. I've got it right here.
Yeah, because you don't file Grand Theft Auto on them, you're accepting their terminology.
Yeah, I had a cop steal my truck, and I tried taking him to court, but the courts protected him. Anyway, about that word, it says reserves deposited with lender. If you make a minimum down payment, you may be required to deposit funds in an impoundment account. Funds in this account are your funds, and the lender uses them to make the payments on your homeowner's insurance, property taxes, and mortgage insurance, whichever is applicable. And that's
not only that, you sign them in the contracts, and you pay for them in the contracts beside their other insurance quotas.
Yeah. Impounds or deposits placed in reserve with the lender, and that's under real estate. Deposit impound.
So with your registration, they're claiming that they own the vehicle, that you don't have a right to it.
Yeah, because if you understand that our birth certificates are foundation documents, so from there, whatever we do in life is built upon that. And that's what scriptures are talking about, is that if you build your house on sand and the waters from below rush in and wash your house away.
Mm-hmm.
But if you build it on a rock, it's a firm foundation, just like building a house. That's what, our life is our house. And if you don't build a foundation, your house ain't going to stand too well.
Mm-hmm.
And you guys know your obelisks that are all over the states?
No.
Yep.
Well, those are pile foundations turned upside down. That point should be in the ground, but they've got it flipped up. On my birth certificate, I have an obelisk, but it's sideways. And that obelisk is also what an admiral at sea wears,
right,
as a badge. And the abbreviation for admiral is ADM, Adam.
Mm-hmm.
And he's the commander of the sea. Eve is the event. So I got Adam and Eve right on my birth certificate.
Yeah.
You become the admiral once you do this. You'll be holding the trident. And you'll control commerce as opposed to having it control you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's starting to make logical sense when we're putting all this together from all sides.
Yeah. Are any of you guys familiar with the PKI system? And this is the whole reason why we're authenticating.
Go ahead a little further with that for others.
here. Google, I'll read it to you here, and I'll give you some
Oh,
definitions.
I gotta take this one.
So the PKI system is a public key infrastructure. So if you understand the Vatican symbol, they got the gold key and the silver key, which is a public key and a private key, and when they come together, become a key pair. Those are known as the keys to heaven, or the keys to the kingdom. And they unlock the gateway. And it's just a computer gateway. It's just a computer system. And this is where that movie, The Matrix, you'll start to understand how he goes in and out of it.
Yeah, and kind of like Logan's Run. I saw that movie when I was 10 years old, when it came out in like 1973, and I was like, oh, that was disturbing. But it did show a lot of those things, you know, the key to get to the sanctuary, which is really the outside world, the real world.
Yep. Yeah, you guys know about Dante's Hell?
Mhm.
That's what we're in right now. And as we're coming out, see, we had to go to hell to get the keys, and then we got to come back up.
And is there any way to recover the family estate through the death certificate, since that also contains the birth certificate?
Yes, because the death certificate is all the same process and procedure. Same notarization and authentication procedure for that. Even when you go buy a house and you have a bill of sale, same procedure. All these documents are seeds, and they get planted in the registry. Because we're all farmers. I've done my birth certificate. I've gone through that process. I did the same thing with my school documents. Because your school, you graduate from university and you get a certificate. It's no different than your birth certificate. Because you paid to go to school, and they pay you when you're done.
Oh, yeah.
In a certificate. So I've done the same process I did with my birth certificate. I did with my school documents. I did with a contract for purchase and sale of land. I did the same thing. So yeah, you're going to do this. It's the same process over and over again, because it doesn't matter whether you take a tomato seed, a corn seed, a cucumber seed, a pepper seed. They all have different information or different data, but they're all still put in the ground the same way. It's just the fruit may be different. So once you get this process down with the birth certificate, you'll be flying, because it's going to be now the same thing you're going to do. And this is what, when you go get a mortgage, what they kept you from doing, so that they could deposit your stuff in the public and still charge you taxes and all this other stuff. So I'll tell you guys right now, I entered into a contract for 1,099 acres in the Rocky Mountains for $4 million. I created the $4 million right in the contract. I wrote it out in words, and I also wrote it out in numbers. So it looks like a check right in the middle of my contract. I took it to a notary, attached an affidavit of execution. It was notarized. I sent it to Foreign Affairs to have the notary authenticated. I sent it to the Ministry of Government and Consumer Services, who put their certificate and seal on it, and now I'm ready to record it.
I like that thought.
I was telling, I also have a letter here. before I had done any of this, I went to Land Rover because I went to the bank. I took my birth certificate to the bank with the transfer form and got a guaranteed signature stamp. In the States, they call it a medallion stamp for a security transfer. And I did it 4 times. I did it with mine, and the next day, I was so excited, right? The next day, I took my 2 kids' birth certificates in, just the little one, just like your little car ownership. I took it in, and she gave me a signature stamp on that. So I had thought that I had completed that part. So the next day, I went to Land Rover thinking, you know what, I'm going to get me a new truck. I went to Land Rover, no bank account, nothing in my pocket. I went in, I talked to the sales rep. I told her that I was there to make a private purchase. I told her how I was doing, like I was going to use the Bills of Exchange Act. I had a case law that I was using. She said she understood what I was talking about, and she introduced me to the financial department. He came out. He said, I know what you're doing. And so they drafted me up a bill of sale. They authorized the sale to go through. Just before I was about to put my endorsement on it, the financial guy asked me for $500. So I put a halt on endorsing the contract or the bill of sale to question the $500 he was now adding on top of my contract. So now I got my original contract, and he's trying to put another contract on top of this one. So now I'm questioning the terms and conditions of this contract. And basically they wanted $500 to hold the vehicle in case somebody else came by and wanted to buy the same vehicle. I started shaking my head because the moment I lay my signature down on that bill of sale, it then becomes a bill of exchange, which is, in law, cash. Does anybody, anyone else know that? So the next day, I showed back up to the dealership to complete the contract. I was met by the general manager who said, did you receive my email? And I said, no. He's like, hold on, I'll go and get a copy of it for you. And he goes, prints one off. He comes back to me. And I'm going to grab the letter here and I'll read it. Rich, did I send you a copy of that?
You did?
Yeah. So he hands me this email. Just give me 1 second here. And this email says, good afternoon, Christopher. Congratulations on your purchase of the Land Rover LR4. Now, this vehicle I was going, it was over $100,000. Now, when he handed this to me, that's the first thing I saw. Okay? Congratulations on your purchase. Now, you could only imagine my face. Lit up like a little boy. Right? He says, continue reading. I said, okay. Due to unprecedented demand for our product within and outside of our borders, there are new procedures that we must adhere to. Really? In one day, you change legislation. Right? Number 1, selected vehicles are available for lease or finance, no cash purchases. Number 2, non-export agreement with binding penalties. 3, a warranty forfeit for vehicles outside the country of origin. 4, a pre-existing relationship with the local retailer. 5, retailers to supply demand within their local market. Now, I don't know if that makes sense to any of you, but it doesn't make sense to me. So, they put a kibosh on my purchase, denying me a cash purchase because now there's new procedures that they must adhere to. So now I'm questioning. He then says, "Are you an undercover car sales dealer?" I looked at him really weird and said no. He said, because he thought I was setting him up. He thought that I was going to purchase this vehicle the way I was going to, bill of exchange, and I was going to export that vehicle to China and flip it for a quick buck. You know, so now he's making presumptions and thinking I'm an undercover car sales rep trying to catch them in some sort of act. I'm still working on it. This was 2 years ago. I didn't know why he was able to kibosh this, but I do know now why. I know why now. And it's because I hadn't made this deposit at the bank. I never completed it at the bank, and I never completed it at the registry office. So that's why they were able to do that. But by me doing that, I proved that it works. After this, I went to Porsche. I walked into Porsche. I asked for the general manager. I handed him this document, and I said, "This guy here just denied me a cash purchase." I said, "Will you honor it?" He starts laughing. "Oh, I know him. Ha, ha, ha." He's like, "Yeah, we'll do it." So I point to a floor model Porsche Cayenne Sport. I'll take that one, but I'll also build one. So then I sat down and I built one. It was about $250,000. Printed off the bills of sale because I was going to take the floor model until my one was built. And I would return the floor model and take my build. So he prints me off the bills of sale. I sign them. Sign them as the bills of exchange requires me to. Hand it back to him. And he looks at me and says, "How are you paying for this?" Really? I said, "Right there's the payment." "Oh, no. We need a draft." I said, "That is a draft." No. We need one from the bank." "No, I don't need to go to the bank to get a draft. I'm creating the draft." So, anyway, I left there. Once again, no truck. I'm like, how are these people able to violate my rights so easily? And once again, it's because I hadn't yet completed these deposits. So they were able to sneak out of it. But at the same time, I'm questioning, even if I had made these deposits, it doesn't mean that I'm bound to use banknotes my whole life. And when you read the Bills of Exchange Act, I've never read any prerequisites except for being of age. But then I realized it wasn't my lawful age. They're talking about my legal age. Oh, I'm still a legal incompetent child. This is how they're getting out of it. I called around to lawyers, everything. Nobody would help me. I wrote to the finance minister. Couldn't help me. This is out of his, he wrote me, this is outside both the minister's mandate and the department's mandate. I wrote everybody. The government here in Canada, they know me. because I wrote to them all seeking help. So those are some of the things I've done, and I'll tell you that it works. It's just there's some things that weren't completed. Has anybody else tried a bill of exchange?
I haven't. I've been thinking about it, but I was like trying to follow up and I guess perfect it, listen to you and a few others before I attempted it. But I was hoping we might cover something tonight that covered all of it to where I could attempt it maybe one day this next week.
So basically what I've come down to, the main thing here is everything's financial. That's the one thing that we're lacking. And to be able to be parties to bills of exchange and all that, you need to get this done. And then, you can start making deposits. But you are the creator of the money. So, you wanted a popsicle or you needed something. The receipt that they print out of their computer is a consumer note under the Bills of Exchange Act, and all you got to do is sign it and tender it back. But what do? We all come home with these receipts. They're trading banknotes for receipts because it's all commercial paper. And then those receipts are supposed to be used at tax time to get your credits back because you're tax credible. Whereas right now, acting in the capacities that we are, using this name to make money, you become tax deductible, which now you owe taxes. Because you're acting as the taxpayer, which is the person. So I'm working on that, but I put that on hold to focus on this process because I know that once I get this process down, I've already gone out and practiced my contracting ability, and I know that it works. It's just I know that I was missing this. And it's the same thing with all your bills, all the invoices that they send to you, the little tear off at the bottom. It comes to you as one entity, and the moment you tear the bottom off, you just created another entity. Because money are legal entities. Words are entities. Everything's an entity, except for you. Well, even we're entities, if you really want to get down to it. But that's what I've done, is I've gone out and I've practiced some of the contracting financial stuff that I've learned. Didn't work out like I wanted it to, but I know that it works. I was just missing something, and I couldn't really put my finger on it, but I do now know. And when we get all this done, it's going to be a different life, but you're going to want to know how to contract, because that's all you need to know. That's what we're lacking here is contracting knowledge. So, same process for everything. Seeds, plant, fruit, or vegetable. Anybody have any questions on that?
Hey, Chris, what's going on with your land in Colorado?
I need to deposit. That's what I'm doing. Right now, I got a file folder of all these documents that need to be deposited.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where I'm at. But nothing can be done unless it's electronically done.
Does that mean you have to become the bank?
I am the bank. Yeah, that's where I'm at right now. So once I get my foundation laid, then I'll take these other documents that I have right now, and I'll deposit them. But I can't deposit them until I get my foundation laid, and then I can go and put my other documents that I have here on the record. So the process we're looking at is notarization, authentication, consularization, and then filing, lodging, and submitting those documents into the registry. And once you do that once, you're going to repeat that over and over, because life is a pattern. And once you find the pattern, like a Fibonacci sequence, that same pattern is going to be for everything. Once you know how to make a baby, you can make lots of babies. It's use of the tool. Every tool comes with instructions. But some people don't like instructions. And that's what we're doing. And that's what I'd like to help guide you guys through, and I'd like to stay in touch while you guys do and go through each of those processes.
Gotcha. Anybody else got any thoughts or questions or anything else to throw in?
I'm good. I'm still thinking about all of it.
Gotcha. All right. Well, you guys why don't we just call it a night, and we can hit this up another day, or we can make this as a topic and bring it back up next Saturday under disclaimers on my Saturday show. So that depends on what you guys think.
Well, do you guys want to leave with a project to go and complete? And then the next time we talk, you guys can tell me about what you did.
What's the project?
Meaning that you need to, order your live birth record and go see a notary.
Mm-hmm.
And if all of us do that and we come back, move on to the next step. And even if you want to, you get your documents notarized and stuff and have them out, then we can all come back and chat about how it felt when you went and did it.
Got you on that one.
Yeah. So live birth record, little birth certificate, short form, long form, to the notary, who is going to make a notarial copy and attach a notarial certificate. And then from there, you're going to send it to your state level to be authenticated. And now another thing is your Foreign Affairs Office. You guys are going to need to find your Foreign Affairs Office. And your notarizations and the long form will both go to that Foreign Affairs Office. And they will authenticate the notary, and they'll authenticate your live birth record and the Registrar General who signed it.
Okay. Anybody's got thoughts with that one?
So you're going to want to do that. It's going to be notary, your Foreign Affairs Office, and then state-level authentication. And then after that comes back to you, you're going to send it to the Secretary of State in Washington. But if we
clarify, Washington, D.C., not the state.
Yes. Little big. But I know I sent my notarizations to the Secretary of State in Washington, and she didn't touch them. She only dealt with my live birth record, the full faith and credence document. So but because mine are Canadian, I don't know if you guys can send your notarizations to her too. But I know they denied mine. But the live record, they had no problem doing.
Yeah, no, I've done some things differently, and so that's where I'm going with that. So.
Yeah, so if we just collect our documents and go see a notary, then we can go from there. Because that is a must.
Yeah, I know what you mean there. That one I agree with you on.
Because the notary is the one who created these documents in the first place. And on their computer system, they call it a work in progress. They created the document, they put it out, and that's what they label it as on their system, is it's a work in progress. And sometimes you can just walk into a notary's office. Sometimes you have to make an appointment. Sometimes you have to pay. Sometimes you don't. I had a notary who was doing all my stuff for free. Because she knew that she couldn't charge me.
Yeah, that's what my bank did to me before they told me that they were going to deal with me, and then they closed my account and took my money.
Yeah, because that's theirs, right? The moment you deposit with them, it becomes the banker's.
Well, not exactly. They're doing it because of mine is all political.
Yeah.
Literally.
Just out to get you, eh?
Well, see, I'm disabled, and Social Security is a contract. It's not a government agency. And that's where people go, it's a government agency. No, it's not.
No.
It's a private contract that you're paying into a private insurance fund.
Yep.
Where they are liable.
Yep.
And so I filed on them, and that's what they're panicking on it, because I even have an Inspector General's report in 2006 where the mayor, the city council, two city commissioners, and the acting governor and everybody were all part of trying to take me out, put me in a federal prison back in 2006 for exposing what I've been exposing. Yeah, and that's exactly what the Inspector General's report came out and basically stated, that they wanted to shut me up. And so, and then trying to get it into a right court or right situation to have it properly taken care of.
Yeah.
But that's where I'm still doing my research on that, to find the right channel, the right form.
Yeah.
And that's the point that you're bringing up. It does come to the point as the right form to fill out.
Yeah, it's all about form.
That I do know.
First the footing, then the form.
Mm-hmm.
Right? You dig the hole, you put the footings, and the footings are your footing in the knowledge. Then the form. Then you can pour your concrete. Then it settles. Then you begin to build the structure. Then you close it. Put a roof on it. But that's it. The moment you go, yeah, like I said, we'll get this all done. I wish you guys could see all my documents.
Well, don't you have them available where you could put them up, or we could post them up, or get them out?
Yeah, I have some digital copies. And then when they come back from the Secretary of State, I'll show you those so you guys can see them all completed.
Mm-hmm.
Because soon they're going to be out of my hands and I won't have them.
Right.
So, and one thing I like to do is I have a USB in my pocket all the time, and it contains all the research that I had ever done. Contains my whole library, contains everything. I keep it in my pocket, so I have digital copies of everything and anything I ever started to study from the point, because I never wanted to lose anything. And getting into this, too, I always thought I was going to forget all the information that I was reading. I didn't want to forget anything.
Yeah, you found out your brain actually worked.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think that we should do that. You guys get your documents together and go see a notary, and then let's come back and chat. And if you guys want, you can even just go and do as much of the process as you can.
So, yeah, all right, let's go ahead and call it a night, and we'll bat it around between us.
Sounds good. Rich, we'll stay in touch.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We'll be in touch.
Thanks, guys.
Everyone have a good night, okay? Thanks for having me on. I also wanted to let you guys know Stefan was very appreciative of you guys having him on last night.
Man, I had a ball talking to him, dude. We rolled on till the radio, I don't know what happened. We eventually got cut off.
Yeah, you guys were going till midnight.
Yeah, a little bit after midnight, actually.
Yeah, he really enjoyed that.
Oh, man, I enjoyed it thoroughly.
And, I was telling Stefan that we need to meet. I want to see you guys face to face.
Definitely.
Yeah.
We'll maybe we can get something worked out and all of us meet up somewhere. It would be nice. It'd be cool to meet everyone.
Yeah, most definitely. Come together instead of just being voices.
Okay.
Pick us up at the Range Rover.
Yeah, well, hey, I told Stefan as soon as this is done, we're going Ferrari shopping.
Hey, think big, man. Going to get a jet.
Yeah, private jet and a helicopter.
Then it'll be easy for all of us to get together.
Yep. Hey, as long as you guys know how to contract and stuff, we'll be awesome. You can do whatever you want to do.
I'm all about it.
And by doing this, too, it shows you're responsible enough to do it. That's basically what you want to show. That's what the government wants to know. That's what they want to see. They want to be able to trust you, because that's what it's all about. I know things seem like they were very sour because we didn't have knowledge, so, we get angry. But the moment that you realize that there's, it could have went a different way, but it wasn't their job to teach us. That was Mom and Dad's job to teach us that in our home.
Yep.
It's not the government's job to be teaching you everything. Some things are private, and that's basically how they look at it. Is, Mom and Dad, well, a maxim is everyone's presumed to know the law. And that's how they go about it. It's not their job to teach you everything. And then you come to a realization that there's a lot of unmoral people in the world. You wouldn't want them with this knowledge. Some people would use this to hurt people.
Yeah.
But, yeah, it's a process and a procedure, and that's all it is. Without process and procedure, you got chaos. So, yeah, let's get those documents, and let's get you guys to the notary. And then we'll all come back. And, Rich, you just shoot me a message if you're talking to Ed or whatever. And we can all come back together and see where we're all at.
Definitely.
But thank you very much again, guys.
Yeah, thank you. Thank everybody for calling in. This was a good talk again.
But yeah, I've sent a lot of information to Rich, so Rich can spread that knowledge out too, and share that and send that off to Ed for Ed to check out some of that stuff I've sent you, Rich.
Definitely. Yep, I was getting it pulled up just a minute ago. My computer's wanting to act silly.
And we just stay focused and you get the job done. And that's, I don't look at it any more different than it's just a job.
Mhm.
You know.
Okay, guys, I want to thank everybody for tonight. I want to thank the producer for hanging out with us tonight and doing this. And to everybody else, may the Great Spirit bless you, and may Mother Earth feed you, and the Creator look over you.
Have a great one. Thank you very much, Ed.
Good night, Ed.
Thanks, Ed.
Richie, Dr. Kelly, and Mike.